What if we could fix some of healthcare's biggest problems, waste, poor outcomes, with just a gentle push instead of some big, forceful shove? Well, today we're diving into healthy nudges, a really fascinating idea from behavioral economics that promises to do exactly that. It's all about improving our health and cutting costs without forcing anyone to do anything.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into the huge problem that nudges are even trying to solve in the first place. Then, we'll break down what a nudge actually is. After that, we'll dig into the evidence, and I mean the big wins and some pretty surprising failures. We'll also talk about the hidden costs, the downsides. And finally, we'll look at where this whole powerful idea is headed next.
Okay, let's start with the central puzzle in healthcare. We are spending more money than ever before, but are we actually getting any healthier? The answer is, well, it's complicated, and it all starts with this fundamental imbalance.
It is a massive question, for sure, but a huge part of the answer really comes down to two sides of the very same coin: overuse and underuse. So on one hand, you've got overuse. That's basically getting treatments we don't need, which is not only wasteful, but can actually be harmful. But on the flip side, there's underuse. That's failing to get the care we know would have actually helped. Just think about that for a second. We're doing too much of the wrong stuff and not enough of the right stuff, all at the same time. And that paradox, that is a massive challenge for any health system out there.
So, how in the world do you fix a problem like that without resorting to strict rules or a bunch of complicated laws? Well, this is where things get really interesting. Behavioral economics offers a surprisingly simple and, I think, elegant idea: the nudge. The key idea here is it's not about forcing anyone's hand. It's about being clever architects of choice. So instead of fighting against our own human psychology, a nudge works with it. It gently guides us toward making better decisions for ourselves. And how it works is actually pretty simple, but it's super powerful. It's a three-step process. First, you find a common mental shortcut people take, like our tendency to just go with the default option. Second, you just slightly reshape the environment where that decision is being made. And third, you make the healthier choice the path of least resistance, the easy choice. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But what actually happens when we put these ideas to the test, out in the real messy world of healthcare? Well, the answer from all the research is a classic yes, but. And you know what? That but is really, really important. Because while they are generally effective, the results are, well, they're anything but consistent. So when you look at the data, yeah, on average, nudges boost effectiveness by about 8%. But here's the thing. Average can be a really misleading word here. The reality is that the impact is all over the map. I mean, some nudges barely move the needle, while the really successful ones, they can deliver a massive boost of over 30%.
And here is a textbook example of a home run. So one hospital system made a tiny change to its computer system. They just made generic drugs the default choice for prescriptions. Now, doctors could still pick the brand name, of course, but they had to actively click a way to do it. The result? Prescribing for cheaper generics skyrocketed from 75% to over 98%. And that change stuck for years. It's a perfect example of the incredible power of defaults. But for every huge success, there's a story like this one. A really complex program for heart attack survivors threw everything at the problem: electronic pill bottles, constant reminders, financial incentives, even social support. And the big goal was to get people to take their medicine. The result? Nothing. It had no significant effect whatsoever. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes adding more stuff just doesn't help. Complexity can actually get in the way. These wildly different outcomes really highlight a critical point. Context is everything. But it actually goes even deeper than just success or failure. Sometimes even a well-intentioned nudge can totally backfire in some really unexpected and even harmful ways. So when you really dig into it, you find there are three big catches. First, the effects can just be temporary. They often disappear the second an incentive goes away. Second, like we just saw, what works for one thing doesn't mean it's going to work for another. And third, and this is probably the most alarming one, a nudge can actually cause real harm to a person's well-being. And this is where a good intention can go so wrong. One study tried to nudge doctors to improve their performance by showing them how they ranked against their peers. Well, guess what? The nudge completely failed to change their behavior.
But what it did do was significantly increase their burnout and make them less satisfied with their jobs. The attempt to help actively made things worse for them.
All of this complexity and the real risk of these unintended consequences, it naturally leads us to the big question. What's next? What is the future for nudging? So the big idea now is let's just get rid of the one-size-fits-all approach. Instead of sending the same generic nudge out to everybody, the goal is to tailor the right nudge for the right person at exactly the right time.
And this is the promise of what people are calling precision nudging. Just imagine a system, right? An AI that knows that a financial reward really motivates you. But for your neighbor, a simple reminder is all it takes. It could process massive amounts of data to deliver the one specific nudge that is most likely to work for you personally in any given moment. But, and this is a huge but, all of that incredible potential comes with some really serious ethical questions. Because for precision nudging to work, it needs a massive amount of our personal data, and that raises some huge concerns about privacy and the potential for it to be misused. You see, as these tools get more powerful and way more personal, the line between helpful guidance and unwelcome influence gets dangerously blurry. So the real question for our future is this: as technology gets better and better at knowing exactly what makes us tick, who gets to decide where the nudge ends and manipulation begins?